Yes, I get it. Every single gamer out there is super excited about the recent announcement of the Samsung Odyssey Neo G9. And yes, I know that even I myself really hyped up the product when I made a video on it a few weeks ago. And if you haven't checked it out, you probably should. And I don't mean to bring down the mood here. Okay, what am I saying? I love making people depressed. But, well, the Neo G9 won't be such a bouquet of flowers as we all think. It does have a big, very disappointing secret to it. Now again, most of the things about this monitor sound pretty amazing. The resolution is insane, the aspect ratio is insane, the refresh rate is absolutely insane. I mean, it really seems to have it all. However, Samsung may actually be way ahead of the game here for everyone else. But first, we need to take an example out of the Olympics that are happening now and dive headfirst into the messy realm of display cable bandwidth. I know, such an exciting topic. The Neo G9 will support both HDMI 2.1 and Displayport 1.4, so this should be a good option to drive the insane refresh rate and resolution for everyone. Except for there really isn't. Because despite so many people hyping up Displayport in the past few years for whatever reason, it really does fall behind here. So let's take a look at this super useful online tool I found on GitHub, which is going to be linked down in the video description below. It's great for seeing exactly what kind of refresh rate and what kind of resolution you can manage with whatever display cables you are using. And right here you can see that for ultra-wide 1440p, Displayport 1.4 cannot even manage the 240Hz refresh rate that a Neo G9 even has. And even though my smug side wants to kind of come out here and talk about how great HDMI is, it does mean that quite a lot of people may not even be able to fully drive this thing. And in fact, it gets even worse because the resolution stated in this table is still lower than what the Neo G9 actually has. So for that, we can turn to this really awesome bandwidth calculator that this website also has, and we can enter the exact resolution of the Neo G9, and we can see that according to its calculations, Displayport 1.4 could only manage 135 Hz compared to the 240 Hz refresh rate of the monitor. Now keep in mind that calculating refresh rate isn't as simple as that, and the tool does make a few assumptions when it comes to things like time formatting and compression, yada yada yada, but still shows that Displayport 1.4 is definitely not the answer if you really want to run this thing to its fullest potential. No, that is where HDMI comes into play. Or at least it would be if you could even buy a card that has HDMI 2.1. Because HDMI 2.1 is still pretty new and only the current generation graphics cards really support it. So that means that if you're not one of the few lucky ones that have been able to buy one, well, then you're kind of left without an option. Now granted, on older graphics cards you can find HDMI 2.0 and that is all backwards and forwards compatible. However, the issue is that the bandwidth of HDMI 2.0 is less than half of that of HDMI 2.1. However, as an extra kick in the teeth, even if you have an HDMI 2.1 card, odds are you wouldn't even be able to drive it properly because, I mean, you're still trying to get 240 frames per second at an insane 5120 by 1440 resolution. That kind of stuff isn't rendered very easily, and odds are that apart from maybe games like Minecraft, you won't be reaching those insane numbers, especially at high graphics settings. Even two RTX 3090s in SLI could struggle to reach those kind of frame rates in certain newer games. Now yes, things like esports titles will be much easier to run, but still don't expect to be getting 200 FPS in all of them. But as another kick at the teeth, man, your teeth must be hurting at this point, HDMI 2.1 in itself apparently won't even be able to fully drive 240 Hz at such a resolution. Because if we once again use the bandwidth calculator we have here, it says that HDMI 2.1 should only manage roughly 214 Hz. Now granted, the display also comes with a few features that should help alleviate that, stuff like refresh rate optimization and of course FreeSync and G-Sync. However, there is no mention at all of any kind of display stream compression, which is something that always is great for increasing refresh rate, so that could be another very big lose for the Neo G9. So what on earth is the answer here? How should you drive this monitor? Seeing how Displayport 1.4 is less than ideal because of its super low bandwidth, and with HDMI 2.1 being 1, super hard to get, and 2, even that doesn't have enough bandwidth to fully drive this thing, at least in theory, then what else is left? Well, Samsung are smart people, and I'm guessing they will figure something out. But if they don't, there is other more hacky ways of doing it. For example, both Nvidia and AMD have their own ways of allowing you to use several cables to drive a single monitor, by simply splitting up what parts of the monitor are driven by what cable coming from which graphics card. And seeing how the monitor does have two HDMI ports, what you could do, at least in theory, is simply hook up two HDMI cables and have one manage the left side of the screen and another manage the right side of the screen. Alternatively, just don't buy the monitor, at least yet, and wait until you have a graphics card that will be able to run it properly. Or hey, maybe you aren't even buying it just for that sweet gaming performance. Maybe you just wanted to, say, view YouTube videos or watch Netflix on. That's a possibility. It's still going to be an amazing display for that, and definitely very immersive with how high the resolution is and of course the curvature of it. But it's definitely a very weird place for a display to be, right? It's so good that us as consumers don't even really have the tech in our hands to even treat it properly. And I'd say that's a pretty good problem to have. But you know what's a bad problem to have? The fact that you aren't supporting my channel on Patreon yet. Why is that? What's wrong with you? I'm joking, at least mostly. But still, even $1 a month goes a long way in helping out my channel, and it allows me to make way better videos along with videos on way more interesting topics. It's going to be down in the video description below, so again, check it out if you want. I'd also love to thank my existing patrons Gavin Burns, Ryan, OKB, Meg Sumner, Blake Drake, Shane Allcroft, and Lance B. Thank you guys so much, your support truly goes a long way. Then there's also our Amazon Associates links. If you are in need of some HDMI 2.1 cables yourself, or pretty much anything else on Amazon, just use those links. Plus then there's also our Discord server if you want to talk to me or us or this or whatever else really. Plus then there's our social media links as well. But anyway, that's what it's, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember, subscribe, like, whatever, and I'll see you all in whatever I make next. Goodbye everyone, goodbye.